The stock now has reduced by around about half, and what we'll add next is the cream that I got, quite a large one off the reduced shelf, so I appreciate that it's not usually this cheap. But what we'll do, we'll add a good, probably quarter, maybe a little bit more, just over a quarter of that tub into that, which will then become cream of chicken and sweet corn soup. Seeing as I forgot to tell you quite a bit there, what we did was we added the cream to the reduced stock that had the sweet corn in and the onions and the garlic, and what we will do is let that boil away, or simmer away should I say, around about another probably 15-20 minutes at the most. And if you remember the bones that we had, it still had lots of meat on the bones, and what I've done is pick it off, and it might not be the most beautiful thing in the world, but it's still got loads of flavour. So we will add that to the soup, and we will get chicken and sweet corn soup. Right then, the soup has been boiling away now probably 10-15 minutes, and I've just added the salt and pepper that suits me, so that's what you do at that point. And there you have, like I say, a cream of chicken and sweet corn soup. And after this we'll move on to the main course, which will be a chicken curry. Right then, first step, we've got the pan back on the heat, a high heat, and in there is probably 2 tablespoons of oil. And if you remember the onions that we did, these ones here, the more chunkily chopped ones, we're going to whack those in first, like so, and grab a spoon, and we're just going to cook those off, not for long, probably 3-4 minutes at the most, and then we will add the chicken. The onions have been cooking for 4-5 minutes at the most, and they've just started to sort of change colour, start to soften up a bit. And what we do now, the chicken that we had before with the curry powder, and if you can see, I was naughty, added a few chilies, but that's up to you really. We're going to chuck the chicken in there, like so, and we're just going to leave that for probably 5-10 minutes at the most, because you want to start to cook it but not all the way through yet. Chicken's been in there now for around about 5 minutes. What I add next is some chopped garlic. To add all that in there. Give it a good stir. Get it all mixed in, and as you can see at the bottom of the pan, it's starting to stick a little bit. Now at this point, as you know, chicken can get a bit dry. So I've got a cup of water here, and what I do, put a cup of water in, get the lid to your pan, and just zoom out of it, just put it like that, and leave it for around about 3-4 minutes, and you just want that to boil away, and it will cook the chicken and keep it moist. After a few minutes of that cooking away, and it will start to, the liquid in it start to reduce down. If you remember, we had some mushrooms which I've roughly chopped up, and I'll chuck those in. Go back over here, and we had a tin of chickpeas, as so, and we're going to put those in. I washed those off, by the way, and we're going to just stir that round, and then we'll add the tomato puree and the chopped tomatoes. That's been cooking away probably 4 minutes now, and the next thing we add is, turn it the right way, tomato puree. And what you want here is probably around about 2 to 3 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3. Just a bit more for luck. And we'll give that a stir round, let it cook a little longer, and then we'll add the chopped tomatoes. Right then, I ended up adding probably the same amount of tomato puree again. So obviously didn't put enough in. And that's been cooking away probably for about another sort of 2-3 minutes. And then the next thing we add is tomatoes chopped, or chopped tomatoes if you're normal. We'll add those in. And then we'll give that a stir. And on to the next stage. We added the chopped tomatoes and I've left it simmering now for probably 15 minutes on a quite low heat, just so it sort of like bubbles away. At this point I added a little bit of salt, not much, and a bit of pepper, and it wasn't quite hot enough for me, so I added a bit more curry powder, and this is where we are now. So you leave that, probably you could leave it for another half an hour just bubbling away, and there you've got kind of a, I don't know, maybe you could call it a madras. It's up to you really, but what it is to me, it is chicken, mushroom and chickpea curry. And I'm not going to bore you with cooking rice because you can't teach your grandmother how to suck eggs. And there we go. Next up, I'm going to sort of break the rules of my own challenge a bit, but I thought we'd make dessert as well. This is the other bit of the podcast that falls outside the £5 mark, or just. And what we're going to make here is, if you've seen a pan there, we've got 2 largest, probably 3 tablespoons of margarine or butter, whatever takes your fancy, in a non-stick frying pan. Into here we're going to stick probably 3/4 of a cup of sugar, and what we're going to do there is just melt that away, and I'll come back when it's ready for the next stage. As you can see, it's gone a dark brown in the pan. Well, I'm sure you can see. And what we add next is, if you remember, let's lean over and grab it, we had the cream and we still had just over half of it left. What we do, take it off the heat, put it on the side, and you slowly add and whisk it at the same time. Now then, when you add the cream slowly, as you see, you end up getting these lumps of what basically is toffee. So what you need to do now is turn the heat right down, add it to it, and over the next 10 minutes just keep on sort of stirring it and dissolve all this toffee into the cream. Right then, as you see, after about 5 minutes just stirring, it's all dissolved back into itself, and what you've got there is toffee sauce.